Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so now I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated. What is Kevin McCarthy doing? You know, maybe it's all part of the plan, maybe he's waiting for the perfect moment, maybe they have access to information that we simply don't, and they're trying to connect all the dots before they take action. It's possible that that's the case. You know, politically launching the impeachment against Joe Biden in the midst of the Republican primary probably isn't the best timing, but that's kind of the copium angle. What it seems like, personally for me, is that Kevin McCarthy is simply just too scared or unwilling to commit to an impeachment inquiry. I mean, just the inquiry, to essentially start off the process.
Thank you, Maria.
Will you bring an impeachment inquiry against President Biden this September?
Well, Maria, first you've got to understand, only because Republicans took the majority have we found out what President Biden told us when he was running for office is not true. He said he never had any dealings with his son's business, and that he never even talked to him. We've now found out not only did he call into the meetings, he went to dinner, and after the dinner, Hunter Biden got a new Porsche, that there was $3.5 million transferred. We found that now the special prosecutor, David Weiss, actually let the statute of limitations run out on Hunter Biden's taxes.
He keeps dancing around the idea. I don't get it. As if there's not already enough. Well, pretty much like I've been saying, I'm pretty sure I left the last video off saying, most likely there's going to be another big bombshell, another person coming forward, pointing the fingers at Joe Biden and the criminal bribery racket that they were running, and would you look at that? The man himself, Viktor Shokin, the individual pretty much at the core of all of it, has finally come public. And again, like everybody else, is pointing the finger directly at sleepy, creepy, piss-pants Joe and his son Hunter, which is a real shock. I mean, real surprising to literally no one. Folks, if this isn't enough to launch an impeachment inquiry, not the actual impeachment, but just the inquiry, then I don't know what it is. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, I have to admit this is a little bit of a curveball. I was not expecting Viktor Shokin to speak publicly, but here he is.
Why were you fired from your position by President Poroshenko?
I have said repeatedly in my previous interviews that Poroshenko fired me at the insistence of the then Vice President Biden because I was investigating Burisma.
So did President Poroshenko tell you that he wanted you to stay on the job, but there was pressure from Vice President Biden?
You understood me correctly. This is how it was. There were no complaints whatsoever, no problems with how I was performing at my job. But because pressure was repeatedly put on President Poroshenko, that is what ended up in him firing me.
Why were you looking into Burisma?
The reason I oversaw the Burisma case was because I was the prosecutor general. Burisma was an ordinary case. There wasn't anything particularly different about it. The reason that I was handling it was because it deserved a special mention. It was on a list of cases to merit special attention, because Hunter Biden was involved with Burisma, and of course his father, the Vice President Biden at the time, oversaw Ukraine affairs for the White House. This is why.
Understood. Do you believe they were up to no good? Were they up to doing something corrupt with Burisma? Was the company of Burisma corrupt, as been alleged, which since has been disbanded?
I have no doubt that there were illegal activities engaged in by Burisma. As a matter of fact, the criminal case had been started before me. It continued to expand, and Zlochevsky, who at the time held the post of minister and was the founder and CEO of Burisma, started bringing in people who could provide protection for him. Hunter Biden was among them. And the corruption network expanded as a result. So, yes, to answer your question, there's no doubt in my mind that Burisma was engaged in illegal activities.
Devin Archer said you were a threat to Burisma. Do you agree?
Да, согласен.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Why? Because you were going to find out what they were up to?
Because he understood, and so did Vice President Biden, that had I continued to oversee the Burisma investigation, we would have found the facts about the corrupt activities that they were engaging in that included both Hunter Biden and Devin Archer and others.
Do you believe that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden got bribes?
I do not want to deal in unproven facts, but my firm personal conviction is that, yes, this was the case. They were being bribed. The fact that Joe Biden gave away $1 billion in U.S. money in exchange for my dismissal, my firing, isn't that alone a case of corruption?
Are we all in agreement here? Do people understand the significance of what was just said by Viktor Shokin? He pretty much confirmed it all. Joe Biden was a bought and paid for corrupt actor, a corrupted cell in the federal government, working on the behalf of criminal oligarchs in Ukraine. He wielded U.S. federal power, American taxpayer dollars, to do the bidding of criminal executives at Burisma Holdings. How much more is it going to take? I mean, it's right in front of you. In fact, it's been right in front of you when Joe Biden essentially admitted that that's exactly what he did. He blackmailed Poroshenko, the former president of Ukraine, to fire Viktor Shokin because apparently Viktor Shokin was so corrupt.
And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
The only crime that Viktor Shokin was supposedly guilty of was investigating Burisma. And to add a little bit of context on top of that, what Viktor Shokin is now alleging, on top of what Joe Biden already admitted with what's alleged in the FD 1023 document, well, it paints the whole picture. 2 months after the aforementioned Burisma meeting in Ukraine, CHS traveled to Vienna, Austria, with Ostapenko and met with Mykola Zlochevsky at an outside coffee shop. The trio continued to talk about the feasibility of Burisma acquiring a US-based entity. CHS recalled this meeting took place around the time that Joe Biden made a public statement about former Ukraine Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin being corrupt and that he should be fired/removed from office. CHS told Zlochevsky that due to Shokin's investigation into Burisma, which was made public at this time, it would have a substantial negative impact on Burisma's prospective IPO in the United States. Zlochevsky replied something to the effect of, don't worry, Hunter will take care of all of those issues through his dad. He then later on went to say, it cost $5 million to pay one Biden and $5 million to another. Zlochevsky needed to keep Hunter Biden on the board, so everything will be okay. CHS inquired whether Hunter Biden or Joe Biden told Zlochevsky he should retain Hunter Biden. Zlochevsky replied, they both did. CHS reiterated CHS's opinion that Zlochevsky was making a mistake, that he should fire Hunter Biden and deal with the Shokin investigation directly so that the matter will remain an issue in Ukraine and not turn it into some international matter. Zlochevsky responded something to the effect of, don't worry, this thing will go away anyway. CHS replied that notwithstanding Shokin's investigation, it was still a bad decision for Burisma to spend $20 to $30 million to buy a U.S. business, and that CHS didn't want to be involved with the Biden matter. Zlochevsky responded that he appreciated CHS's advice, but that it's too late to change his decision. CHS understood this to mean that Zlochevsky had already paid the Bidens, presumably to, quote, deal with Shokin. And shortly thereafter, Shokin was fired, and Joe Biden literally bragged that he essentially did his part of the job. Look, I know there's no big smoking gun, there's no recording of Joe Biden on the phone, speaking on behalf of Robert L. Peters, saying, listen, Bal.
Get ready, Bal. You're in for a problem.
We'll fire this guy, just wire the money to Big Guy LLC in Panama. But come on, like just put 2 and 2 together. And you know, the Democrat defense or the Joe Biden defense doesn't make any sense. Oh, well, it's his son and not him. You mean to tell me that his son making, I guess what we've counted so far is upwards of $50 million, selling access to his father didn't benefit Joe? That the money needs to go directly into Joe Biden's account for him to be implicated in this whole thing? Joe Biden's entire lifestyle is funded off of these corrupt schemes. We know that money was going from Hunter to Joe because Hunter said it himself, and just logically, there's no way that Joe Biden could be buying $5 million beach homes one after another without the money that was being made through Hunter Biden as a proxy. It's not Joe and Hunter, it's the Biden family. That's why it's referred to as the Biden crime family. You know, that's how these things work. Not only would an impeachment inquiry be justified, but at this point, we should be seeing RICO charges. They're charging Donald Trump using the RICO Act over nonsense, non-criminal speech, totally illegitimate, but if there was ever a legitimate use of the RICO Act to go after a politician, this is it. Let's recap this whole thing. Let's recap how many people have pointed the finger. The FD 1023 document, Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's closest business confidant, Tony Bobulinski, another business associate, tied in directly with Hunter Biden, the former White House stenographer who followed Joe Biden every single day while he was vice president, I think for 6 years, an Israeli businessman with deep ties to CEFC, and now Viktor Shokin, all pointing the finger directly at Creepy Joe. And that's just off the top of my head. There's probably a couple that I forgot. I mean, we've been covering this stuff for such a long time at this point. You have 6 credible witnesses pointing the finger at Joe, corroborating all the evidence, all the allegations, and what was said by the confidential human source in that FBI document, and still nothing's being done. The President of the United States, the current sitting President of the United States, is a bought and paid for asset who sold his soul to corrupt criminal foreign oligarchs. This guy should be impeached without question. That's what I got for you guys though. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.